Hi, Lisa White with IVF Manifesting a Miracle, and I'm here with my friend Marilyn Gomez. Many of you probably know her from Infertile Teas, and she's here to do a soul sister conversation with me. I'm so honored. So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so excited to finally chat with you. We were saying before we started recording that I feel like we have so much in common. I'm like, she's like, we vibe.
Yes.
I'm happy that finally that we're able to connect.
I know, same here. I know we got feeling the full moon energy. Are you?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we have a lot in common. We have our one little children, our daughters, and they're very, soulful beings. You and I have a lot. We've messaged each other about how incredible it is and just being conscious in our parenting, right? Conscious parents.
Yeah.
I love that we also, we'll get into that, but also share our first concert. Who was our first concert?
This is going to be good.
New Kids on the Block, the original New Kids on the Block.
The OGs.
Oh my god.
OGs.
Yeah. So we're dating ourselves, but yeah, I think we do have a lot in common. So it's such a joy to connect with you.
Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you're based in, is it North Carolina?
I'm in Charlotte. Yeah.
Charlotte. And I'm from Colorado. And just, within this community, I love like what we're sharing. It's just, we've never met, but like this community, it brings people together. And I'd love for you to kind of share a bit of your fertility story and how you got to your Mila and what you've gone.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit.
All right. So I'm going to start with like the Cliff Notes version, and then you tell me like where you want me to deep dive.
Okay.
Because we could be here all day.
I know.
Really dive in. So, and I'm a talker. I like to share a lot of details. So
good.
Give me hand gestures, hand signals.
Yeah, I mean, just opening up and sharing. I know you've had a few years and a struggle.
Yeah. So my husband and I got married in 2009, and I always wanted a big family. And I think it's because, well, I'm Latina. My parents come from large families themselves. My mom is one of, and I always forget like which one's which, but like my mom is one of 12. My dad's one of 14. I think that's right. I always forget. Yeah. Big families. And so every Christmas, we would go to South America. That's where my parents are from. And it was just, I just happy to have all of these cousins. And I was like, oh, I just want this. I know when I grow up, I want a big family so that I can create this excitement too for my children.
Right.
Not that I had a horrible childhood. It was my sister and I. And so when I got married, my husband has 6 siblings. And so I was like, all right, we're ready to go. And we got married in July of 2009. And like we started trying immediately. And I always say like trying because like we had been having unprotected sex for a while. And so like I'd never gotten pregnant. And so we were like, you know what, I'm going to go to the OB and just say like, hey, OB, we've been trying for a year and, try to get the jump start. Like I really wanted to start family building. I think I was 26 at the time. And so, which I look at back today and I'm like, I was young. I still had a lot to learn.
26,
a lot to learn.
I know, right?
Yeah. A lot to learn. And so I went to OB, told her that. She's like, you're young, you're Latina, I'm gonna put you on Clomid, you'll be fine. So I was like, Clomid, great. I had researched it. Like I'll have twins. I've always wanted twins. And like the first cycle didn't work. And she was like, it usually takes like 3 months for your body to like get used to it. So I'm like, all right, we did 3 cycles, nothing. So then she started to up the dose. And we did, I think 6 or 7 cycles. And like nothing happened. And I was like, what the crap? And she had no explanation. So at this point, like years had gone by. It was 2012. And my husband got a great job opportunity in Salt Lake City, Utah. We were living in Orlando at the time. And so we're like, let's pack up and go. So we moved to Utah, which I love Utah. And we've been to Colorado several times, and I love Colorado as well. And in Utah, I found an RE, right? And we got started on IUIs. I gave him my history. And
how many IUIs did you do?
7.
Wow.
And like, and it wasn't like back to back either. It was just like every couple of months. But I'm a recovering perfectionist and I'm a Capricorn. And so I'm like, this is my goal. Like, we're going to get done. Let's do this. And nothing was happening. And so I'm like, okay, the desperation is starting to set in. Where we're in Utah, the average family size, like the average family has 3.5 kids. And I'm like 0.5, I don't know what that means, but like, that's what it says. And so it was like seeing so many kids everywhere. It was just like the desperation in me. I was like, what? I felt so insecure to show up as myself. Like, I was like, I'm a nothing here. Like, I'm just a nobody. I, grew up in a very conservative family. And so it was like my job, like your job is to get married and have children. And so I was like, yeah, this isn't working. And I wasn't happy. And so my husband and I started to like travel a lot more, and we got into a lot of like outdoors sports and hiking and stuff in Utah. And by this point, a colleague of mine had told me that his wife had gotten pregnant at another doctor. So I was like, okay, well, I think it's time. I think it's time to go see that other physician. And so I went to go see that other doctor, and she's like, I really don't know what's going on. And we got to do an IVF. That's really what's going to tell us what your eggs look like and what your body responds to with medicine. Like, we don't really know. So I'm like, great, this is cool. We don't know. But in my head, I was like, IVF, like literally, like they take an egg, they take its sperm, they will inject it, they watch it grow, they put it in, like it's gonna work, like duh, that's why it's like $20,000. It's a no-brainer, right? And so I just didn't see, I didn't really understand. I was so naive. And
How old were you at
like,
this time? Were you still late 20s?
This was
You're still late.
No, hold on. Wait. 2012, I moved to Utah. I started seeing her in 2013. Okay. 2013. So I can't even calculate.
No worry.
Yeah, I think I'm in my 30s at this point. My 30s,
okay.
Yeah, early 30s.
Okay.
And we do IVF.
Yeah.
I'm like waiting. I started an Instagram account like recently. People were talking about like TTC, trying to conceive. I had a blog, like when I'd gotten married, I was like blogging. And so I'd met a few people that were trying to get pregnant. And so when Instagram started, we all moved on to Instagram.
Yeah.
And I kind of started learning about infertility, but I wasn't ready to like label myself as infertile. And so when that IVF transfer didn't work, I mean, I'm saying didn't work, but like it was a chemical pregnancy. I didn't know what chemical pregnancy was. I hardly knew what the reproductive system, like I was learning so much about my body that like I was taught my whole life to like abstain instead of like, this is how your body works. Like, don't, be ashamed of your period. So I was like, okay, chemical pregnancy, like how does that like turn into, I don't understand.
Okay. That was your
she's
first
like,
transfer.
That was my first one. And so she was like, I think you have unexplained infertility. And I was like, like I just laughed, and I was like, unexplained, like that to me sounds like such a lazy response. Like unexplained, like you're not doing enough, doctor, because you have no explanation. It just didn't make sense in today's technology, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so she's like, let's get you ready for IVF number 2. And I was
you had a lot of embryos to work with. You had a lot of embryos.
We retrieved and this is like my golden number, because I had the same amount every single time. Retrieve 17, 7 make it, 7 mature, and then day 5 there's always only 2. Yeah. This was my first IVF, only 2. So I was like, I'm gonna increase my chances.
And they weren't tested yet. They were just
no, they weren't tested. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we had transferred those 2, and like it didn't work.
Oh.
And so for the second IVF, we talked about genetic testing, but like I didn't know enough about it, and it felt, the way she explained it to her was like just like a thing she was crossing off her list, and I didn't feel good. And I'm like, I don't know, genetic testing to pay $11,000. Like, I don't know. Maybe the first one was a fluke. Let's just do this again. By this time, like the desperation is setting in, and I'm like, I don't know. You feel so empty. Like, how do you just describe the feeling of like a walking nothing? Like, it was very depressing. And my husband's like, you should start talking to a therapist. And I was like, yeah, I think I need to talk to somebody. So I found a therapist that specializes in infertility and loss. Started seeing her, and she's amazing. She was amazing. and did IVF number 2. We were actually able to get 4 embryos that were mature on day 5. And so I transferred 2 and I froze 2. So I transferred those 2 in 2014.
Okay.
And like I'd gotten a positive pregnancy test. The beta came back positive. It was like in the hundreds. And then like the second beta, like it hadn't risen to her liking. And so she's like, I think you're going to miscarry because we like to see these numbers double. And I'm like, great.
Wow.
And so that's what happened. And I actually, like on Christmas Day, I found out, like we were watching Polar Express. I'll never forget it. And of course they like, I feel like all the clinics are in cahoots because they're like, if it's a negative test, call them at nighttime. Like they leave you waiting all day long. Like blood work response or your beta, your HCG. And so, yeah, so the nurse called me at night and I'm watching Polar Express, Tom Hanks.
On
and
Christmas
she's,
Eve?
yeah, on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Oh my
She's
God.
like, yeah, it's not rising. And these are the symptoms that you should look for. Like if you have like sharp pains and blah, 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 then you go to the ER, but we think you're going to miscarry like on its own. And I was like, I think that is the miscarriage that just like broke me apart. I was like, oh, I think I'm infertile. Like I'm like, it just like, I remember just like crumbling to the floor and just like wishing that the earth would open up and just swallow me whole. Cause it was just so it was so heartbreaking. And on Christmas, like, are you kidding me? It was horrible.
So
yeah. And then, my therapist was like, I have started a small group. I want to start a small group, therapy group of infertile women that like are all on the same journey. She's like, I have 4 other patients and you guys are literally very much alike. And I was like, yeah, I'm an individual. There's nobody like me. But she was like, you guys are very much alike.
A spicy Latina.
Yeah. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be cool. And your journey sounds similar. Your diagnoses are a little bit different, but you guys are all like the same age group. Blah, blah, blah. Are you interested? I'm like, yes, sign me up. So I start going to group therapy for 3 hours a week, Wednesday night, every week. And these women, today, we're still in contact. They're amazing. And yes, we're all very much alike. And it was just a fascinating dynamic on how we all processed each other's or our own grief with each other. And so that was really cool. And then I had, because I was kind of sharing my journey on Instagram, TTC sister, I'm like TTC sister, reached out to me. She was like, hey, a girlfriend of mine got pregnant with like really bad eggs at this particular clinic that's in Colorado, 1 state over from you. She's from out of state, Maryland. I really feel like if you're going to do one more IVF, because I was telling her, like, I think I have a little bit of gas in my tank to do it one more time. She's like, you need to go to this clinic. She's like, here's my girlfriend's phone number. You're open. She's totally open to chatting with you if you want to pick her brain about what the experience was like traveling out of state and like going to this clinic, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, thank you for doing that for me. Like, it was just so kind.
That's so
you
nice.
didn't have to do that. And I just felt like,
gave you some hope, right? Gave you a little bit
gave
of
me a
hope.
little bit of hope, but it was like, she was looking out for me. And I was like, and that's how I feel like today as the big sister. Like, I feel like I look out for like for my people, like I look out for them. And so it was just a beautiful thing to do for me. And so this is like, the new year, right? And I was looking for other ways to like heal. Like talk therapy is great, but there was only so much talking I could do. And I felt like I love talk therapy. I still have my therapist. But I was like, I need an extension because I just don't want to like, there's so many other healing modalities out there. And so I was like,
oh yeah, we share that in common too, both Reiki certified. I love that.
And so I was like looking for ways to like release energy. And like, I just felt this stagnancy around my uterus because I like hated my body. And I'm like, I don't want to hate my body.
Yeah.
How can I possibly get pregnant and then all of a sudden love my body overnight? Like, I want to create this like welcoming home for a potential baby. And I have to love my body. And so I was like, do I do foot zone therapy? So I like found a foot zone therapist and did foot zone therapy, and I loved it.
Never heard of that. Foot zone
zone therapy. Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to look that
amazing.
up. I don't know
The
about
bottom of our feet are maps, right, of our body.
like
And
reflexology.
so
Reflexology.
reflexology is a little bit different.
Okay.
Foot zone therapy incorporates energy work. And
Oh.
so the therapist that's zoning your foot will literally say, oh, like during my foot zone session, she was like, what happened to you when you were 27? She's like, I feel, and I'm like, oh my God, that was what?
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, do I want to do this like for myself? And I like zone my own foot. I'm like, no. And then I found Reiki and I was like, I could totally do like, I'm already, I have like some spiritual gifts and stuff. And I'm like, already like very in tune. Like I can, let me get into Reiki. Like that is something that I could do for myself. And I didn't do it. I didn't get certified to like, here, I'll come to my practice. I'm going to do Reiki on you. It was like, for me, just to like know myself a little bit better. And I wanted to feel secure in my body again. Cause when you go through infertility, you feel like you're having this out of body experience. You have like your body, which is like you offer to your doctor every appointment for, you know, poking and prodding and the wand up your hoo-ha.
Totally.
Like, you just don't feel gross. And then like I wanted to like merge myself back together and I wanted to stand firm in who I was again. And so I went to this like light center in Utah and went through the certification process and loved it.
Wow.
And I felt so secure. It was, for me, it worked in a way that like I felt so secure in who I was. So getting ready for my third IVF, I was in a really good headspace.
Yeah.
And I had contacted that clinic. We flew to Colorado, had a 1-day workup, spent the entire day. They did a ton of tests on my body. They created a protocol for my body and what my body needed, and not just like these general template matching protocols that most clinics do unless you ask specific questions as to why did you choose this for me. And I went forward and we started doing the egg retrieval process. Again, like magic number 17 retrieved, 7 made it to day 5, and then 2 made it to day 6. They're like, we grow it till day 6. So 2 made it to day 6. They froze them. They did genetic testing because they were like, we don't take patients that don't do genetic testing. This is what's going to increase your increase the optimization of like potentially getting you pregnant. We have to know, like, are we transferring bad eggs all this time?
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And so they did. And so I got 2 genetically normal embryos that I ended up transferring in September of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, September of 2015, I transferred 2 genetically normal embryos, and then it worked. Like the HCG came back, and the nurse was like, "Okay, you're pregnant." Blah blah. I was like, "I've heard this before, lady. Like, I don't think so." She's like, "No, you're pregnant," and I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Okay, let's order you some more meds," and I was like, "Okay." And then my numbers kept tripling, and I was like, "This actually worked." And that's like a whole other thing that like we don't talk about is the anxiety of like, now I'm pregnant. Is this going to stay?
Right.
And I saw the 1 heartbeat in October, and the other embryo just like went away, I guess. I don't really know what happened, but 1. And then in June of 2016, I gave birth to Mila, and today she's a 5-year-old and she's super cute. But she's amazing. I could like,
she is amazing.
I'm gonna table her for a second because I could talk about her for years. She's amazing. But so I'm raising Mila, and
just to backtrack, you transferred 1 embryo?
No, I transferred the 2.
2 and only heard the 1. That's Mila.
Yeah. I transferred 2.
Okay.
Because I was always like, well, I'm going to increase my chances. I'm just going to transfer 2. And so I got her, and then in August of 2019, I was looking at like my frozen embryo bill that kept coming for my second IVF, and I was like, it's time to transfer this embryo. Or these 2 embryos that I frozen.
You wanted to grow your family. You wanted to try it.
I've always wanted a big family. So I'm like, okay, I have these 2. And in my heart, I was like, it's going to work. It's going to work. But I was okay. Like if it didn't, and I already had a plan, I had a game plan. I was like, if this doesn't work, I'm done. I'm literally done. Now it would have been 10 years of trying to conceive. Like I'm not giving my body another hormone again. And so, Yeah,
Transferred the
I
last.
transferred those two. I transferred
Yeah.
those last two in October of 2019. And
Okay.
I actually, like at home, I got a positive pregnancy test. My beta was positive. And
Mm,
then the second one, it was a 5. And I knew it, and I knew it wasn't going to work. Like eventually I just felt my body, like I felt it work. In this the
mm,
beauty of like being so in tune with your
yeah.
own body.
Yeah.
Um, like I felt it work, and I was like, oh, and I felt pregnant, and it was amazing and beautiful. And then the day of my beta, I remember waking up and being like, I'm not pregnant anymore. I
Mm,
just know I'm not. I just knew it. I just knew I wasn't pregnant anymore. And so the nurse was like, "You're technically still pregnant though. Like you taking your meds." I'm like, "I'm not. I'm not. I've
mm,
been, I'm like been doing this for a while. I'm like an uncertified nurse. I'm like, I don't have the credentials
wow.
of a infertility doctor, but like I feel like one. So yeah, I'm not doing this."
Oh my
And that
God.
was it. I didn't even go to like the appointments where they're like, "We have to wait for the levels to drop," and I'm like, "No,
Wow.
I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done."
And you knew in your heart
So
you were kind of like done with trying to grow your family, you said.
yeah, like it was for my mental health,
Right.
and also like I had to accept like you
Yeah.
tried the best that you could. You can no longer control this. Are you going to subject yourself to like more money down the drain and like more pain and sorrow that could potentially take away from like being present with your one? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I can rewrite a new story. And I think we forget how much power we have as humans. We have so much power. And
Yes.
I'm lucky that like my mom brought me up to, she raised me in a way. She was like, she always said that the mind is like a tower. She's like, your mind is like a tower. You can program your mind and you can recreate whatever, you can have whatever you want, you can manifest whatever you want. She's like, and it starts right here. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I'm gonna take my mom's advice because she's right, and rewrite a new story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Thank you. You've been through so much, and celebrating your Mila, and you share her with all of us, and it's so beautiful. I really admire you as a mom, and I too, I only have one daughter, only child. I'm the only child myself, and not something that you plan for. Maybe, I don't know. I too wanted a big family, and after 2 egg retrievals, one healthy embryo, out of 7
Mhm.
tested. So
Yeah.
that decision was kind of written for us, and I'm okay with that. And I think that this is something for others to take away, is to sit with it, to know when you feel in your heart it's time to either stop treatments or go on a different course. I mean, it's really such a personal decision.
It
Yeah.
really is. And a lot of people ask me, Lisa, they're like, well, how do you know when to stop? Like, how do you know? And I'm like, you know what? You have to really listen to yourself, but also like nothing is also ever black and white. It'd be so unfair for me to make decisions for future Marilyn. But I can tell you that Marilyn today sits
Mhm.
full and whole and together and strong and confident that I am so happy with one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. If I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, you know what? I think I want another one, it's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it is beautiful. And I love, like, you really tapped into so many things. I mean, you speak a lot about healing. You have
Mhm.
3 pillars you talk about. I know it's
Yeah.
advocacy, self-advocacy, community, and healing. And when you touched upon that healing part, you really did go inward, which I speak a lot about too, the importance of really going inward, and those healing practices. You felt really whole, coming from a whole place. Maybe
Yeah.
that's part of why this worked out too. I don't know. We don't know the answers of why sometimes it works,
Right.
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but nourishing yourself, you really did that, doing that inner work.
And
And
it was like it was like, I don't know, I can't really quite pinpoint like when I hit that aha moment for me. It was gradual. It was
Mhm.
like nobody else is going to do it for me.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you have to be okay with that. Like no one else is going to advocate for you and your health.
Mhm.
No
Mhm.
one else is going to do it. You're the one walking into the clinic. No one's going to carry you in and be like, I'm her spokesman. Like, no. That's just not how it works. You have to do that for yourself. Like
Yeah,
if things crumble around you and you're crumbling, you're the only one that gets to choose to get out of bed during the day. You choose what you put in your body, you choose your activities, you choose how you respond to things around you,
yeah,
you choose how to react. Like we choose those things,
totally. You're
the
speaking my
things that we
language.
can
I mean,
control.
this
Yeah.
is so important to talk about because it really kind of drives me crazy when people say there's nothing I have control over in this process. There's nothing I can do. And it's like, no, there is so much by the power of your
Yeah.
thoughts, your energy, how you're showing up to your appointments, the questions you want to ask, like that, you're taking your power back. That's empowering.
It is. And you have to do that, because if you don't, and you know this too, Lisa, because we have this commonality of like our body absorbs the energy
Yeah.
physically. Like
Yes.
physically, you will physically be sick. You will physically have these symptoms because of everything you're absorbing. So you have to like find a way to like let it flow. You have to
Exactly.
focus on your limiting beliefs. You have to really sit and change your thoughts.
Conscious. Yeah. Conscious, being in
Yeah.
conscious.
And I'm not saying like positive, like
No,
positive,
not toxic positivity. No.
toxic positivity, because I come from a family that is toxic
Ugh.
positive. Like, yeah. And I'm always like, no, mom, this is actually a tragedy. Not like, oh, but just look at the bright side. I'm like, you have to sit in this for a second.
No, doing the healing work, facing the shadow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Addressing that. I was curious when you were sharing about some of the things besides the talk therapy that you did, is when you created Infertile Teas, was that part of your healing, like actually creating and like that project? When did you create that along your journey?
So what's so funny is that I'm a self-taught graphic artist and web designer.
Oh.
And I started doing this when my daughter started preschool. I was like, I have like 4 hours a day that I could just like sit and learn something new.
Oh.
And so I was like, I want to learn this. So I just like taught myself how to do graphic design. And then when I was gearing up for that transfer, I was like, I want a cute transfer day t-shirt. And I went on Etsy, I went on different websites, and I just didn't like anything that was my style. Like I'm like my style, like I'm so stylish. I'm actually very plain. I accessorize a lot.
Yeah.
Like my style comes with accessories, but like I love my basics. And I
Yeah.
don't like anything. So anyway, I was like, I'm gonna just design my own transfer day t-shirt. And there's a local print shop in my town. And so I will just like send them the JPEG and the PNG, and they'll print it on a t-shirt, blah, blah. So I worked my transfer day, got lots of compliments on it. And they're like, where'd you do? I'm like, I made it. People are like, oh, you made it. And I'm like, I did. And so I like during my 2-week wait, I started Infertile Teas. I went on Instagram.
Cool.
I went on Instagram and I was like, I got so many compliments on this t-shirt. Maybe other people want to buy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I need a Instagram handle. And I was like, Infertile Teas. Like it came to me like this. It was like magic. Infertile Teas, took the link and I posted photos. And the photography back then, I cringe when I look at it, but I won't take them off my profile, because it's like, this is where I started.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, guys, if you like any of these designs, like hit me up in my DMs and Venmo me, and I'll have it printed and we'll ship it to you, blah, blah, blah. And then, so that is kind of how it started. And when my transfer didn't work, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay here in this creative space where I can serve people that are hopeful, serve people that are going through it in this capacity. I've been here for 10 years. I feel like the big sister of this community. And I just want people to feel like they have a voice, even if they don't want to shout it out loud. At least they feel like, okay, I'm one in 8. Like this is my story. And this is me stepping into my truth. I'm going to own it. Even though maybe I have a private Instagram profile, maybe nobody knows, but at least like I can wear the subtle shirt, know that like I'm part of a community that will be here for me through this experience. And so, yeah, one day I opened up my DMs and I was very overwhelmed with people wanting t-shirts. And I'm like, I need I need a legit website. Cause I can't just like take a Venmo and be like, oh, well, who Venmoed me? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you send me your address? Like, it was just like so much back and forth. I'm like, I'm going to mess up. And this is like people's money that I'm dealing with. I don't want to mess up. It's people's money. And so, I started to cap orders. Like, okay, I'm only going to take a certain amount until I build my website. So I built out my website, and then I launched it June 1st of 2020, which is my daughter's birth date.
Oh, that's
cool. So that's
yeah. You speak about that creative space, and I too. There's for anyone in the 2-week wait or approaching the 2-week wait. I mean, having those creative outlets will greatly help you going through.
It really does. Yeah, and staying off of like Googling every symptom, because that is so detrimental for your mind, because then the limiting beliefs come in. Then you start to have that negative self-talk, and that's just not good for your mental health.
No, not at all. No, it's a beautiful story. I love what you've created. And it just goes to show like the power of an idea. You were in alignment. Things just lined up for you. You manifested this whole great business. I mean, just kind of your idea, and you saw a need, and you don't have to have a perfectly polished website. It's just like put it out there, and people say, we want this, you know? And the power of community. I mean, gosh, your t-shirts have brought together. I'm sure it's just like, what a thrill for you. Just like my book. And I see people like reading my book. It's like so amazing. And people wearing your shirt. It's like,
it's so humbling.
Together. It is.
I just feel like, I'm like, wow, people have chosen like my t-shirt, like the threads of like the stuff that I've designed on my iPad Pro to wear like throughout their journey. Like I feel woven into their journey. And when I get DMs, I'll get DMs when people are like, next Thursday is my frozen embryo transfer, and I just bought a t-shirt, or I'm going to wear this t-shirt, and I will write down their name. I have a whiteboard right here, a dry erase board. And I'm like, so right now I'm not going to say the name of the person, but so-and-so next week, FET. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow up with that person and make sure that like, they know that I'm rooting for them.
Yes.
And so, and I always tell, I don't want to cry, but like, I truly like am rooting for people to, find themselves through their journey, because it's so isolating. And I don't want them to know, I want them to know that like, they are not alone. There's a whole community to lean on, just like the community, like 10 years ago, there was hardly an infertility community on Instagram. And, when I joined Instagram, it was like, I feel like an OG, like everyone was kind of trickling in and supporting each other. We used to do mug exchanges. There was a girl in the community that she had 1,000 people once sign up for a mug exchange, and she had to calibrate and like coordinate like addresses and people that were going to send a mug to each other for a Christmas mug exchange. And it was just, it's all about community. And if you don't have community, like who do you have? You have to lean into people that know exactly what you're experiencing.
No, that's such good advice. I mean, you and I have walked this path, and we're there for others, and we care, no one really understands unless you walk this ride, like just how deeply emotional it is.
Yeah.
And having your Mila, like tell us a little bit about just your joy as a mom and seeing her and having her in your life. Like, I mean,
oh my gosh, I always say that like I never actually had a baby. I gave birth to an old lady. I literally gave birth to an old lady. She never liked bouncy chairs. She didn't do like the goo goo gaga, like the cute laugh as a baby. She was always like, when she was born, she like looked me dead in the eye, and I'm like, I haven't been supposed to look at you like this. Like, I didn't see at that age, but like she was like penetrating. At 4 months old, she would read my lips and she would move her mouth like this. And people would be like, is she trying to read? I'm like, I think she's reading my lips. She became an old woman to like teach me lessons. And I always say that she's like my greatest teacher. Like she, they say that like when you have a child, you will have triggers from your own childhood in some sense and how you were raised. And so I knew that when I was going to be a mom, that I wanted to conscious parent her. Like I wanted to parent her in a way where she felt like a person, because she's a person.
Her own person.
her own person.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, scare her or discipline her out of like to put fear for her to like stop doing something, because I want her to have a trusting relationship with me, because that's not what I had with my parents. Now I do. I'm an adult, but like as a child, like I was so afraid. And psychologists and people that teach conscious parenting will say, if you instill fear in your child, they won't trust you. They'll start hiding things from you, And so her and I have a really, really good relationship. She gives me feedback and I give her feedback. She communicates very openly with me, and she's only 5. And I love that we've built this relationship together. And I love that she, I call her my old lady, and she just loves that. Like,
so cute.
She walks around and she's like, she like knows. She's like, I'm very smart. Like, I know stuff. Yeah. So yesterday, when I was like, yeah, it's a full moon tonight, she's like, we got to get the crystals out.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we got to get our girls to meet each other. They both have pendulums. My daughter loves her pendulum. She'll put her hand out and she'll say something, and it's like she watches. I mean, just their little souls. My daughter's 4, your daughter's 5. I mean, it's so magical. In card readings, she likes to pull cards for me. She'll find the journal. Like, I started journaling at a young age. I don't know about your little girl, but she's just so into like writing words out now and spelling. And she'll say, I need to write that in my journal. And it's like so sweet. I just 4 years old, it's
my Mila does. Is your daughter's name Mila?
Olivia.
No. Olivia. Okay. I'm like, did she say Mila or just say
Olivia? Olivia.
She does the energy work on me. She'll be like, Mom, lay down for a second. Like, you have healing hands.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could go deep into all this. Yeah. After my mom passed, and I mean, she was only 11 months old, and just the healing she's given me. And my grandmother passed 4 months after my mom passed. And I like, she'd see me cry, just as a little over a year old. And she'd look at me, just these soulful eyes, and just showing her real emotion and not holding things back. I mean, she knows she can tell me anything, and she'll say, Mom, can I tell you something? And I love that, just that whole feeling safe and secure and open, like you and I both are in that space. And
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, she's just like a sweet soul. Maybe our girls can meet one day.
And I would love that.
Tell us about the business your daughter created. She makes these.
Oh my gosh. So I make them. People are like, oh, she's making them. I'm like, I am. She'll string the beads. So we're, do I have any here?
Yeah. No, I mean, whoever watches
mask
this, living during the time of COVID with masks and everything.
Mask necklaces. Yeah. So she sees me work, like when we're home together, like on the weekend or something, we'll pull orders together. And she recently was like, Mama, I want my own company. And I was like, you can have one. If you have your own company, what would you name it? And she was like, Little Star Company. And I was like, that is brilliant. And I was like, okay, let's stop what we're doing. We're going online. So I went online, I registered it. I took out the domain immediately. I was like, we're doing this now. I'm like, so now you own a company, Little Star. What do you want to put in it? She's like, she has all these big ideas, but I'm like, she's 5. And I'm like, okay, well, what can you think of that, like, you want to sell right now that we could do together now? And she's like, the mask necklaces for my friends.
For her friends.
Yeah, for her friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. So
that's so amazing.
We go to the bead store together. Like, there's a cute, like, mom and pop, like, bead store, and she'll pick out some beads, and it's all her idea. And when I pick her up from school, she's in kindergarten. When I pick her up from school, the first thing she says is, hi, Mommy, I love you. I love school. Any orders today for Little Star Company? How much are we donating today to the
oh my god,
the orphan animals? She calls them orphan animals, but we donate
a
percentage of the 10% to the ASPCA. How much are we donating to the orphan animals today, Mom? And I'm like, hold on.
Wow, that's beautiful. So tell everybody the website again for people to order.
Littlestarcompany.com.
Okay, and where can people find your t-shirts?
infertilities.com.
Infertile Teas. And do you have another website, or are those the two main ones?
I don't have another website. No,
Infertile
I'm
Teas,
like,
yeah.
do I?
And your
I
handle,
think that's it. I think that's it.
Instagram.
Yeah. My Instagram handle is Marilyn B. Gomez.
Marilyn B. Gomez.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so happy to connect with you.
Me too. Thank you.
And
I know.
This is so wonderful. I love the way you're parenting consciously. And any tips for those out there who are wanting to do the same and kind of step into feeling empowered on their fertility path? Do you have any like lasting kind of just advice or things for those who are in this journey right now?
Yeah. Like there's like the 3 pillars that I always preach about, and that's self-advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, before we wrap up real quick, I have to explain like what self-advocacy is. Because some people are like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, if you're at a restaurant and you ask for steak and you wanted well done and they bring you medium rare, are you going to stay quiet, or are you going to say, hey, like, you have to be rude. You just say, hey, like, this isn't the way I wanted it. And you send it back, right? Yeah. Advocating for yourself is like walking into the doctor's office and saying XYZ and having a dialogue, finding a physician that you're hiring, because we're spending thousands of dollars there.
Yes.
Hiring your doctor. If they're not able to have a respectful conversation with you, if you're asking them about like, hey, I've heard a study about vitamin D levels and infertility, like, what are your thoughts about that? If they shut you out, they're not the doctor for you.
No. Good.
And so like self-advocacy, community, finding support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instagram's a great place to start. There's so many organizations too that you can lean in on for support. Yeah. And then healing, like, don't wait to have, a horrible thing to happen to start healing. You start healing during your journey.
Yeah.
It's so, so important to find a therapist that is licensed, that you can lean on, that has experience in grief, loss, infertility, to give you the tools to support you through the journey. Because even after the journey, you will have triggers, you will experience other things too, that you need the tools to help navigate. And then of course, like if you're into like the spiritual stuff, like there's so many great healing modalities that you can lean into as well.
Do you have a favorite crystal?
Oh my, it depends on the day. So like carnelian is one that I've been leaning on.
I just bought carnelian stone for
really
too. Yes. The fertility.
Where's my other ones are downstairs. Like my other ones, I have like tons here, but like, carnelian is like one that I've been leaning on. Yeah, I love it. So
did you have a symbol that grounded you through your fertility? Did you have were you into crystals, or did you get into that later?
I actually just got into crystals last year in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't into like crystals until recently.
I was given this by a dear friend. I write about this stone. I don't know how you pronounce it. Labradorite? Labradorite.
Mm-hmm.
Labradorite. And it's been with me through everything. And that's one of the things I guide my clients through, is having a symbol to ground them and connect them kind of back to their why. And it just having a little tool symbol. I mean, it's been with me through everything.
I love that. I love that you share that with your clients.
Symbol, yeah. And I send things off to my clients too, just little things. So
that is so good.
Yeah. Thanks. I know carnelian's a good one. So if you guys are out there looking for a stone, it doesn't have to be big, something small.
Yeah.
In your purse and your wallet.
Well, sometimes I'll put it in my bra.
Oh. Fertility. Well, spice it up. Oh my God. And you also have a podcast. I forgot to mention that. The Vida
Podcast. Yeah, we're on hiatus right now because I'm so busy with Infertile Teas, but I think about podcast, like I just have to find a good flow so that I can pick it up again, because I love podcasting. And
sorry, go ahead.
What I've shared on my podcast are basically stories of women. I think we lose ourselves a lot as women existing in society, whether you're a mother or not. And so I have guests that share their experiences that have catapulted them and how they influence their communities.
That's beautiful. Do you know what human design type you are?
I don't.
Oh, we'll have to connect. We'll look yours up.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. But having multiple projects, like you and I are like that way. And it's like lots of creativity, lots of ideas, lots of projects. But this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for openly sharing your story and just being such a wonderful resource for people. And, shirts and all kinds of wonderful inspiration and humor. You like put yourself out there, which I absolutely adore. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And for anyone that would like some extra support, feel free to reach out to Marilyn or myself. I'm at ivfmanifestingamiracle.com and have my book, Hold On Baby, on Amazon and YouTube channel, Lisa White, IVF Manifesting a Miracle. So stay tuned for more soul sister conversations like this. It's such a joy to connect with you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.